present for my company, and I'm also at events, so I'm not necessarily, okay, ladies and gentlemen, here's the keynote. So I have to come on and say, welcome, we're so excited that you're here, and then launch into kind of a keynote presentation.
All right. Now, are you giving the you're introducing the keynote? You're introducing the keynote speaker?
I am introducing, and I am her.
You are introducing. All right, good. Well, and how big is your company?
We have about 10,000 consultants. Usually I speak to 600-700 at a time.
Okay, great. 600 people, you should not be introducing yourself. I'm sorry, you shouldn't. The first person that works on stage, if they can be the president of the company, the chairman of the board, the conference chair, the person that walks up is not going to get applause unless you have, and this you can do, you've got 700 people, you have a voice of God. You know what a voice of God is? Someone with a microphone at the back that says, ladies and gentlemen, please get settled. Your program is about to begin. To officially welcome you to the 76th annual blah, 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 blah. Here is your, what is your title, you? Then you walk up. You do not introduce yourself to 700 people.
So if I'm introduced as here to welcome you, how do I say, it was 1979?
No. Okay, so, but the voice of God sets up to let the audience know. So, welcome to for your official welcome and opening keynote speech.
So there's no welcome. There's a welcome. Okay.
Well, that's it. But then you can walk up and say, you are in for a treat. The next 3 days will be action-packed, entertainment-rich, and sales-inducing. I don't care what the words are, but you have 3 descriptive words.
And then you tell your story of everybody.
Well, but see, really, the opening welcome and the keynote speech should not be the same person. It really shouldn't. It's a different role. Fine, but at the very least you have a voice of God introduce you. Well, how about this? You are in for a treat. No, someone else said welcome, so I don't want you to say welcome again. You are in for a treat. The next 3 days are going to be action-packed. Now, you step forward 3 steps. Stepping out of my role, or stepping into my role as your keynote speaker. So? But it's always not about me, it's what you're going to learn. Congratulations, you've made a great investment. For the past 18 months, we've been planning this conference to make it valuable for you. Or 6 months, or 3 months. Even though they're there, remember, the real sale comes after the sale. You sold them to get them there, you sell them, it's going to be everything they expected. The voice of God said you were the introducer and the keynote speaker, so then, and stepping into my role as your welcoming keynote speaker, I'll never forget when I sat in your seat for the first time. All right? All right, get ready? Yes.
I often speak for community events, free community events, like at libraries and different things or whatever. So I usually have around 20 people or so. There's no one to do it. So I have a written thing, and I take it with the first person that gets there. This is my burial. I just say, you know what? I will give you a special gift if you would like to introduce me. And then
so you might say, yeah, how would you like to be a star? Now, you see, your introduction has to be written in bullets, 22-point type, so it's easy to read. But no, that's it. That's great. What I do when I do breakout sessions at the National Speakers Association, there's no one to introduce. I always say is, I'm usually introduced. So I will pretend I'm somebody else, introduce myself, you will applaud profusely, and then I'll start. Listen, we are lucky to have that for the 12th year in a row. Then I introduce myself, applause, 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 then I walk to a different part of the stage and then start. So there has to be a switch, there has to be a different persona. But sure, most people, and if somebody says no, but if they're coming to hear about your book, you say, would you like one of my books? You have two choices. You can pay $20, or you can invest $20, or you can read my introduction. Yeah. Now remember this afternoon, what was one of the phrases at the end of the afternoon, the extra innings that went before the show? We were talking about the enemy of the speaker is sameness, which is a perfect transition to introduce my guests, Paul and Stacey Richards. Now, Paul Richards is one of the California Guitar Trio, which are a very, very popular and one of my favorite groups. And they first met, how many years ago?
23.
23 years ago, in retreat with my brother, Robert Fripp, who is a great guitarist and also a great speaker. We have some of his spoken word CDs when we were speaking at the NSA conference. And one other time when I was speaking in Austin for the NSA chapter, it just so happened California Guitar Trio was playing. So I went and introduced them. They were staying at the same hotel. I said, come wave before you leave. And as Paul was at the back door, I said, why don't you come up here and let me interview you? Because how we put together a presentation, there is a lot to be learned from other theatrical forms. We talked a lot about movies and the influence, what we learned about comedy. So let's look at music. Now, what a musician or a group has to do is give a performance, as we do, that people would come back and hear you again. So, Paul, these are my friends of Utah Speakers Association, and we are Mountain West, so we have Idaho and Montana, Wyoming, who will be watching us on video or internet or something. So would you like to tell us, how do you put together a set that will satisfy your audience?
This past Saturday night, I was in Chicago. It was the final concert of a month-long tour across the United States. We were performing at a music venue, a brand new music venue called The Space. A beautiful, brand new venue, very elegant. And we had just finished sound check. The audience, the fans were coming in, the excitement and tension was building for the show. And myself and my two bandmates sat in the backstage room, and as we've done hundreds of times before, it's actually one of the most important things that we do. We sat down to create the set list for the evening's performance. So we have a repertoire of pieces of music, of songs, and each song is like a story. We have some old songs, some new songs, and each song has a different impact. And we can take a look at that particular night, at the venue where we're at, the people that are there for that particular event, how we are feeling that day, and we can sit down and create a set list. And it's so important because that's what the audience hears. The transition from song to song, it's a critical part of the performance. We can make or break a performance by the order of the pieces that we create. So we sit down together and take a look at a repertoire. Now each song has taken many, many hours of development. So it's the stories. And that's, first of all, we have to have something to say to the audience.